are we looking at?
We're looking at "Oh, for a Thousand Tongues."
Excellent.
This hymn has a rich history because the lyrics were written by Charles Wesley. He lived from 1707 to 1780 and was the first set to music by a man named Karl Glasser from 1784 to 1829 and arranged by Lowell Mason 1792 to 1872. I think it's fascinating to look at the times that these men lived when they wrote these songs. Wesley was the poet who took up the work of Isaac Watts to replace the chanted psalms and introduce what they called experiential hymns, or hymns of human composure, that kept the church's songs vibrant in the 18th century. Glasser was a German composer and director who taught voice, piano, and violin. He liked Wesley's lyrics that were based on 1 Corinthians 14:19, where the Apostle Paul, in correcting the church there, informs them that although he could speak many languages, tongues, verse 18, he would rather speak one language to teach others than to speak 10,000 words that no one could understand. Isn't that interesting? Another song that Glasser evidently said was "Mein Mund besingt die Sünfach darum des Herrn der Welt." I probably didn't pronounce that right, but that means "my mouth sings the glory of the Lord and the world of 1,000 times."
Ah, okay.
Lowell Mason not only composed music himself, but he arranged music by others, including Handel's "Joy to the World." He arranged this hymn to make it available in America.
Good.
Thomas Jarman, from 1776 to 1861, he would only have been 4 years old when Wesley died. That's what makes those dates interesting. He loved music when he was young and soon became the choir master of a Baptist chapel as a teacher of harmony and voice. He composed over 600 hymn tunes.
Wow.
Wow, what a legacy, along with anthems and other works. He became one of the most prolific English composers in the early 19th century. He's now predominantly known for his masterful treatment of these words that we're going to look at here in this podcast.
Good.
The tune name, LYNGHAM, L-Y-N-G-H-A-M, and then when you do those tune names, they're all in capital letters.
Oh, yes.
It can be traced back to Scotland, where the Lingnan, now L-I-N-G-O, Lingo, village still exists today. That village received its charter in the 13th century.
Wow.
Way back.
Yes.
Our purpose here is to demonstrate how an insightful composer, Jarman, cleverly painted the lyrics to make them come alive instead of just poetical words on a written page. Boy, that takes a genius of a composer to do it.
Yes, it does.
The first thing that stands out is the composer's obvious desire to make every voice have a melody of its own. If you're looking at the music, you can see that every part is a melody. Watch the tenor follow the soprano, and it goes in measure 3, which we'll probably talk about, where the soprano goes B down to G, tenor goes G up to B, and it goes. It works together all together. That's what he was confident. He was the composer where he was colorfully painting the lyrics to make them come alive.
Yes.
And make it practical. The first thing that stands out is the composer's desire. Jarman took the unusual 8/66/8/6/6 meter and divided the phrases into 4 measures, then 5 measures, then 4 more measures, then 5 overlapping measure, and one last 3-measure phrase for a total of 21 measures. Talk about unusual. This is the only hymn like this in any hymn book that you can find that will match it.
Oh, wow.
The second thing that stands out, or the things that stand out, are the ornamental treatments of important words. 1,000 in measure 2, great in measure 7, and the 2-note slurs in measure 3. you know, da 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 dum, where it comes in both tenor and soprano, and then it comes together in measure 7, where the soprano goes dum da 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 da, and then it goes da da da. He deliberately did that. So he was trying then to employ a strong quarter note figure with a similar motion on the interval of a tenth between the bass and the soprano in measure 5, and rounds it out with half notes in measure 8. You can see how that works. He's painting the words all the way through to make it work. To emphasize the triumphs of his grace, he stresses the 4-note quarter note figure of measure 14 6 times before the bass and soprano move in similar motion in tenths, again in measure 19. He then reaches the closing 2-measure syncopated figure in measure 20 to bring everything to a decisive ending. LYNGHAM, the tune name, came from LYNGHAM, a village in Herefordshire, a county on the West Midlands of England. Scotland claims its origins, that it came from the lands of LYNGHAM, which is now Lingo, that had a charter in the 13th century. What an unusual, but what a great hymn to have.
Yes, that's a favorite.